Hello, it's me, Leslie Plazz, back again with another edition of the Zazoo Plazz show. This is Halloween weekend. It's November 1st, 2020. I got my Halloween shirt on from last night. We didn't have any trick-or-treaters at all. We have so much candy left over. My son went to a socially distanced cookout, and he brought some those little mummy dogs and some pierogies, and they had candy, and they made the best of it. But before he left, he carved a pumpkin. I posted it so you can see it. We had a little guitar session, playing some tunes. We made the best of it. But the wind's been kicking up. We had snow a few days ago. The wind is howling. It kind of reminds me of this passage in the book, the chapter Next Life, Savings and Loan. It talks about after Halloween, 2 days later, when the air had become crisper, the trees more naked, and the wind somewhat harsher, I celebrated my birthday on the Day of All Souls. It was one big Zazoo party, with a day in between to reflect and go to the All Saints' Day Mass and pray for all the people who passed away in the previous year. And then I go on to talk about, the saints. And we just had canonized another saint here in Connecticut, in the New Haven area this weekend. So those are the ones that had fast passes to heaven, I said. At the end of the line, tortured ghouls speeding down the grease-slicked highway to hell. The ones I imagined AC/DC sang about in the rock song by that name. The ones who needed our help, you guessed it, were in the middle of the line. Boo! So I talk about, on it goes in the chapter, basically talking, and that's what I want to talk about today, is the whole concept of uncertainty. We look at people who've, clearly they're wide awake. Their whole lives, they just radiate goodness, they radiate peace, right? Those are the people we think of as, not really needing much help, because we know which side. we know what they're about. They've made it their life's work to be good and to radiate light and to bring others toward light. And so there's an energy. I always sensed as a child there was an energy hierarchy, if you will, from highest, purest energy down to lesser energies. And generally what I was most fascinated and most confused by were the middle. Now, in the current situation in our country, in the U.S. now, we have an election happening on November 3rd, amidst of the pandemic that's still raging all about us, and in the midst of this confusion, and it's a time when people are talking about swing states and situations that could go one way or the other. It's that middle of the road that gets us, right? Whether it's the middle of life, the middle of the country, states that could surprise us and go either way, those shocks, right? Uranus, we've got a full moon last night, full moon in Taurus. We have a lot of intense energies leading up to the end of the year. So it's that sense of uncertainty, the if you will, kind of a purgatory state where we don't know how things are going to turn out, you know. And it might be a very long time. Just as I grew up thinking about the souls in purgatory and saying prayers, you know, it's a situation where you think about your individual choices and how much each one of us can do, you know, can influence things by how we expend that energy, you know. How do we spend our time? It's like mind-blowing to think about. So every year around my birthday, tomorrow's my birthday, and so I'm going to have a simple day. An ideal birthday for me has to do with spending time doing the things I like to do. A little exercise, time spent, you know, with my family, having a nice dinner, a little wine, maybe a little homemade linguine with clam sauce, a little salad, and a little piece of ice cream cake for dessert. Some jokes, some couple of gifts, maybe writing out, thinking about the year to come, and making good wishes, making wishes for what I'd like to do in my life in the next year. Because we have more say in that than we think. Making those, setting those plans, making those pie in the sky wishes. That's the beauty of life. It's fun. So I found this when I was working at that company down the street from me a few years back. I was working in an international department of a software firm, and we took a trip to the Spanish Harlem Museum, and it was just after my birthday, and they had an exhibit on Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead, which is my birthday, in Mexican culture. And I saw this, we were there just as they were closing, and I grabbed this card. I said, I've got to get this card. So I put it up at my desk at my while I was, you know, answering emails and everything in Spanish. And it made me happy, although it creeped some people out. But see, there's la Katrina, La Calavera Katrina, her name is. Let's see if I can find the part in the book where I talk about her. Her name is La Calavera Katrina, the high society skeleton in the big hat and fancy dress popularized by early 20th century Mexican artists. So, see, she's kicking up her heels. She's dancing on a bed of roses. There's a doorway here, like a fancy gate or a portal. And she's twirling her skirts, and she's got a little top. She's got a crown of flowers on her head, and she's laughing. See that? She's having a good old time. And then there's these two little skeletons here, and there's more roses, and it's joyful. The effect is a little macabre, but it's overall joyful. So it kind of makes me think of me. She's got her big hair, and she's got her big earrings. You know, she's kind of a party girl. You know, she's a little thin, kind of like me. And she's clearly enjoying herself, having a great time. And what I think of when I look at this is man, I wish I could go to a party. That's not possible. But I think it makes me think that this is kind of like the doorway, right, between the earthly realm and the spirit realm. And it's very thin this time of year, you know. They tell us all the spirits of our dear departed are, you can feel it too. That it's the thinnest, the veil between the worlds is the thinnest in the whole year. And that's why, you know, we sense that there are ghosts around. We've got to wear masks so they don't, like, come and try to steal our spirits and things like that. But I guess I just feel like it's, you know, it's continuous. It's more, it's just a state of being, and there are many states of being. And you know, I guess maybe when you're younger, you think of it in more of a harsh way. But talking to my mother today, she's like, "Oh, I'm going to drop off. Dad's going to drop off a card for you." And she said, and then in the next breath, after she's talking about what she got me for my birthday, and you know, talking about plans for the week, in the next breath, she's talking about how she's going to be cremated and what kind of luncheon she's going to have at her funeral, and talking about it in such a natural way. My first instinct has always been to say, "Mom, stop talking like that. You know, you're gonna be around." I mean, just yesterday, my mother-in-law had new flooring installed. My 91-year-old mother-in-law got brand new laminate flooring in her house to replace the 40-year-old stuff that, you know, had been there since 1980. It was sort of avocado shade. So she now probably has a nicer floor than I have. And she's making plans to do the next room. So it's all up here. My mother says, "Oh yeah, you know, so-and-so had a really nice, you know, luncheon at her funeral," and I'm like, am I having this discussion? We don't want to talk about it, right? We don't want to hear about it, and yet it's as natural as life, as talking about a newborn baptism, right? It's just another phase that our spirit goes through. And so, if we have a joyful spirit and we realize that, you know, death doesn't discriminate. Death comes for all, regardless of if you choose to be joyful or if you choose to be mourning and sad and focus on everything that's wrong, right? Death comes for all, whether you're a multimillionaire or if you're a humble person, right? Who has lived simply. There's a wisdom in that, I think. And wisdom in the lessons of those who've gone before us and the humorous stories. My Aunt Georgia, who's in the book, called me the other morning. She said, "Well, we're packing up the house and we're moving to the assisted living place." She says, "I got a sprout maker I've never used. Would you like it?" Of course, there's a story in Zazoo Plazz about my very unsuccessful epic fail making what my son Jack called dung sprouts. Mung sprouts. But me being who I am, I said, "Oh, sure, I'll take it." And then hung up the phone and realized I've already got a sprout maker that I'm never going to use again. But maybe somebody can use it, and I'll put it on the community shares thing. Somebody else is dying to make sprouts. And then she says, says, oh, and the other thing is my cousin Charlotte, or whoever, went out to South Dakota, where my granny was from. And she talked to all these people, took pictures of the little school that my granny went to, my Granny Bilodeau, and compiled everything into this wonderful book that apparently nobody else in the family, none in her family, wishes to have. So I think by default, it's going to come to me, along with several other genealogical and historical things, and I might share those with my cousins if they have any interest. But you know, it's something that perhaps I can incorporate into future books. Fascinating stuff, and that's the kind of stuff that I could really sink my teeth into. So I said, okay, I'll go and I'll go pick it up. I'll get the sprout maker and I'll get the book, and she can feel lighter and go off to the next phase of her life with her husband, living in a nice place where they get meals, they have all kinds of activities and people that they can, well, eventually after socially distanced, remote for now. So she's actually looking forward to that. And I thought, oh my goodness, all the new beginnings, all the new. When I was 25, I would have thought, oh my gosh, that's sad. But now I'm thinking, well, I'm going to be 55, and I'm thinking, I'm very excited about my next phase, about doing this, about learning more about myself, about life, about everything. So age is nothing. It's not. It's just a number, like a number on a dial. And it's like, oh, I've never been this age before. And every year it's like that. So I think this is kind of like me. This is me going out in the world and saying, cheer up. There's a lot to be happy about. There's a lot to be excited about. And it's just an exciting time to be alive. So that's my good news for today. I just want to tell you, on the last day of being 54, how thrilled I am to be here. Until next week. Calavera Katrina, wishing you happiness, health, and a joyful week. Wherever you are, light, love, and lots of laughter. See you next week. Bye-bye.